Hi, 7th grade. This is a copy of Vincent van Gogh's famous cypress trees of 1889. You can tell it has a lot of elements in it like Starry Night. It has the big cypress tree that he uses in the beginning of that, in the middle of that painting. It has the landscape that you see in the background, the cascading mountains. It has similar colors with the blues and the greens. And then it has a swirly cloud sky, but it's day, it's not night, so it doesn't have a moon and the stars and all the other pieces. Vincent van Gogh has a wonderful style in which he uses lots of lines in different directions to create texture and variety in his paintings. You can see, now this would have been done in oil, but you can see there's some places where he really smooths it out, and then there's some places that he does it in short strokes, short lines. Very similar to what you see in this painting. This is Van Gogh's irises, and again, you can see how here it's one color blending into another, and then here it's lots of short strokes to create the greenery in the background and to give it the color and the texture. Vincent van Gogh is fun in so many ways. You can see here my Vincent van Gogh mug. When you put hot liquid in it, it puts a bandage over his ears. That's very fun. It even has a handle in the shape of his ear. That's pretty funny too. It has a quote on the front. It says, "What would life be if we had no courage to attempt anything?" So that's quite a nice quote to have. And there's lots of interesting things because he had so many paintings. I have a set of coasters here. This is my Starry Night coaster. Here you can see there's a coaster like this painting here of the irises. A coaster of his famous sunflowers. And then one of his famous posters, A Cafe at Night, which is one of his most famous paintings also. So we're going to use these artworks as inspiration. We're going to be drawing a picture of a landscape like the cypress, but we're going to keep in mind the short textural strokes that we'll be using for our picture. So take a minute to look at this painting here and do a rough sketch, because I'm going to pick up there and show it to you when I've done mine. I'm going to sketch out the landscape here, line here, sketch from the side, sketch up the cypress tree, come here and do the mountain. Just remember, when you're doing your bits and pieces, just try to look at where he starts on the paper. You can see here the mountains start a little above halfway. There's something here that comes a little below halfway, and he sort of does it in bands. That way that it's not so hard to follow if you just look at the different layers that he does in the background, and then he puts various things in the foreground. And usually at least half of the picture is some sort of sky happening. Okay, so start sketching that out, and I'll show you the rest in a moment. Okay, the first thing I do is gently on my paper, I sketch out some of the highlights of the picture of the cypress trees. Now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to see if we can do lines in a variety of directions so that it doesn't look like we're coloring everything in the same way. Vincent had a tendency, look at this close-up of the face here, to do a series of lines and a series of smooth spots. So this is the idea that what we want to do. So I've gently sketched out the background here. Now, there is a blue mountain in the back that runs through the middle of the picture, And that seems to be highlighted in blue and then colored in without a lot of strokes. So I'm going to do that one first because that's smooth. So I'm taking this, just doing an outline. Okay, and that roughly goes in the middle here. And I'm going to just color that in, just regular. Okay, I'll come back to that later if I need to fill in any more. Okay, then the main part of the picture has these cypress trees, and they come up through the middle, but they come up, I want to go with a darker color. They come up like this, and there are lots of little pieces that stick up. He doesn't do that all smooth like he did for the mountain. So just come up with your cypress tree in one direction, thinking about all the little branches. Now, I'm going to see if I can find even a darker green than that, because, test it over here, that's good. Because it looks like it's so dark that it is almost a black. But I think he just does that with the layers of the different types of green. Okay, in between here is another layer that's a bit green, so I'm going to find a green, and that's a bit smooth. And then this one here is very, very small lines in the horizontal direction. So I'm going to find something here that's a green. Let's go with this green here. And you see I'm doing a different kind of stroke. I mean, that's really what the point of this assignment is here. This one we just colored in this way. This I'm using long strokes. This I used small strokes. I want a variety of different line segments to be able to do this picture. I don't want it to be all the same technique. I also don't want it to be all the same color. So I'm going to use my layers of crayon to be able to do this. I mean, this is how he gets all these different textures and colors, because if this was paint, he would add a variety of different colors in here. So I think I'm going to add this, an olive green on top. I put paper underneath in case my coloring goes off. I don't want to mess up my table, but I also don't want to stop my picture just because I came to the end. Okay. Now, this part down here, that's supposed to look like hay. This has got a variety of yellow and gold tones and orange tones, but they're all done in very short pieces that all go in this direction. So I would say put some in and then layer another color on top. I'm doing these like backslashes. Or cross-hatching, making like hashtags. I never really color this section in. Now, just when you think you figured it out, there's just a tiny bit of a darker or contrasting color just lurking beneath the surface. Okay. Now, over here is a small tree that comes up from the ground and comes off in this direction. Put that in there, but I don't think there's enough contrast. If Vincent were looking at this right now, he would have been unhappy that I didn't pick some darker colors here. Okay, so now in my landscape here, I need another color. I'm gonna go with something kind of in the purple realm, and instead of doing like backslashes and hatching like this, I'm gonna do all short strokes in this direction, and then that way I'll have this variety of strokes. So I'm gonna take a series of dark and light purple. This is a field, so I want to make it look like one thing flows into the next. So after I color my spaces, I might have to go back and close the gap a little bit and layer my colors. I want the swirly sky up here, and he uses a variety of colors. He's got a gray, he's got some light purple. We'll use the sky blue to make the swirls. The swirls are always in an S shape. So think about S shapes when you're doing the swirls. I'm gonna go with the silver in the background. Now, I want to add a little bit more contrast between these swirls and this mountain. So I think what I need to do is make this just a little bit darker in spots to kind of give it a little bit more definition in spots. And then I want to get a little bit more up here at the top. So I think it's just a question of seeing if I can get, press and do some dashes. And here you have it. My version of Vincent van Gogh Cypress. You can see what I'm trying to do is to go with different lines, different directions, whether they be C's or swirls, or like hashtags, or just straight up lines, or a series of lines, or some colored in spots and then outlined, or a series of dashes. This is how I want you to do your picture. Try to use as many different lines as you can, and also layer your colors. Vincent van Gogh would have layered his colors when he put his picture together. And so please do the same. Try to find a few different colors that mix and match together, and even ones that can highlight your picture. So enjoy your picture and have fun.